Hello, everybody. I'm coming to you from Joburg, South Africa, and this is a cold evening, and I'm very excited to be joining you from this side, and thank you very much for letting me visit your home, and welcome to mine. I'm so excited about this opportunity, but also want to thank Campus Party and Len Neri for this wonderful, and you know what, it's one of these once-in-a-lifetime opportunities where we get to share a message and a passion that actually sometimes only live in our hearts, and then we get this opportunity to share it with the world. So thank you for joining me. I would love to know where you're from and where you're tuning in from. And so from this side, I am very thankful for my husband and son who are keeping the noise level down. And we've got a power outage at the moment, but thank goodness for people and inventors who have thought of things like this and came up with UPSs and generators and things that empower us to continue with the show. And thanks for the friends and family who supported me to make this happen as well. So again, welcome. And I also want to give a shout out to Jade and Etienne and the rest of the team. You know, sometimes when we're on stage, there's always someone backstage making sure that things work. And in this time, while we're doing things online, we've got people behind the scenes. So thank you to them. And Jade is going to help me with the presentation to bring up the slides. So for me, it's such an exciting topic. How do we reboot the world? And I've decided to speak about how do we change time wasters into game changers. And it's been really interesting and fascinating doing more research about this and really looking at the games we play and how we play the game of life and where are those time wasters and what does it mean to become a game changer. So yesterday, it was such a privilege and honor to be part of or to be witnessing a panel discussion with three of the pioneers of the internet. It was Sir Tim Berners-Lee, Vinton Cerf, and Al Gore. And together, they played such an incredible role. They fundamentally contributed to having broadband connection, web pages, and the network technology that allows us to work with the internet. And I don't know if you know this, but the internet turned 30 years old last year. So they are game changers. And it's because of the fact that they used what they had at the time and made something new of that we are having this conversation now and that we are able to work and communicate the way we do. And some of us have actually, especially the young ones listening, have never received a letter through the mail. Oh, I remember it was so special receiving a handwritten letter from a pen friend abroad. Now it's so easy with social media. And some of you will never have to, thank goodness, stand next to a fax machine and wait for it to slowly print those messages. The reality is, and this is a message for each person listening, regardless of your age, you can never be too young or too old to become a game changer, there where you are, to make impact and to really contribute in a new way and be sparked by a new zest for a problem. And that's what I really, really hope, is that we can dive into this topic a little bit more and see where do you fit in. So Jane, if you can bring up the first slide. Thank you so much, Jade. And let's go to the next one, because tonight we're going to speak about 3 things: your fingertips, time wasters, and game changers. Now, let's just, before we go to the next slide, I want to say that during our time together, I really hope that I can light a spark in you that will motivate you to consider yourself as a game changer, and to, right after this, move in a way that you can do what you can to reboot the world. And before we go further, I just need to get something off my chest. Please give me a moment. And the good thing about these video conferencing calls and me sitting in your living room right now is that I can look you straight in the eyes and be close to you and say that I'm really concerned about your fingertips. Yes, you heard me right. This tiny part of your body is something that I'm really worried about. It's this part of our bodies that is actually showcasing our identity. It's the part that is used to identify us. It shares everything that's unique about us. But yet again, it's also the part that we use to actually create our digital footprints. You know, in the past, we used to say that it's our tongue that is our biggest weapon, because it's with words that we can actually set a whole forest alight. Words can never be taken back or reversed, and their consequences have a ripple effect. And in the power of the tongue is mentioned in so many ways and so many times in the Bible, and it actually refers to it as death and life are in the power of the tongue. Now, if you look at the next slide, please, Jade, you will see something interesting. Yes, we speak on average 7,000 to 16,000 words a day. And no, I could not find any research that is documented that says and that confirms that women speak more than men. So that's not necessarily true, even though that's what most people think. But can you imagine if we speak 7,000 to 16,000 words on average a day? Then the ripple effect of each word, not just when we hear it ourselves, but when we are saying it to others, needs to be taken into consideration. Now, this is where the whole fingerprint comes in. So, have you ever considered the fact that, and let's look at the next slide, have you ever considered the fact that it's with our fingertips that we are speaking? Nowadays, we don't even get a chance to really communicate 7,000 words a day. Hopefully, we've got family members in the house, but I don't know about you, but some days you are so stuck in your own silo that at the end of the day, you wonder, did we really connect with each other? So it's with this tiny part of our bodies that we take photos, we record videos, we tweet, we retweet, we post things, we like TikToks and so forth. And it's with this tiny part of our bodies, our fingertips, that part that is literally your identity on a screen, that we either break someone's heart or make their day. And I really want to encourage you to become more critical about what you do with your fingertips. And this is what broke my heart when I realized how many young people are actually committing suicide because of cyberbullying and all the other ripple effects and bad things that are happening on the internet. And that's why I started Safety Net Cyber Safety, to create awareness for responsible digital citizenship and cyber safety, but also to create a place where it's safe for victims to go to. The reality is, it's really hard to hear a dad on the other side of the phone crying about something that happened to his son online, or a school principal who's so frustrated because they need to deal with all these new issues and policies that need to be put in place, etc. Or a young person who's so stressed because they shared a naked selfie online and now have no way to take it back. Those things are real, and all of that is done by this part. And that's why I want to just mention before I go further that I love the internet. I love social media and everything that it allows us to do. But we have to be very critical and careful with what we do online. So cyber wellness is something that I am so passionate about because it includes responsible digital citizenship, it includes cyber safety and digital parenting. Now, what does this have to do with this whole thing about rebooting our world and our future? It's because we are doing it, and probably most of us going to do it with and through technology and social media networks, etc. And if I have to ask, what do you think about when we think of time wasters? Then I'm sure the young ones will think school and chores. Those are probably top on the list, right? If I ask the parents, you'll probably think of online gaming, social media, and I don't know about you, but sometimes we think all these online meetings are time wasters, right? And then business professionals will think of other things that are time wasters. But one thing that I'm very thankful for is that we're not sitting in traffic that much anymore. That's a big time waster that luckily we don't need to consider today. But have you ever noticed how people invent solutions on top of solutions? And have you wondered, what is it that they have? What is it, and how do they actually get it right to move us from frustration to innovation? What is it that they have that we can learn from and that we can use now in this day and in this time that we live in to help us move forward? So let's look at the next slide and see. Game changers. I have a couple or a certain list of things I want to share with you. Game changers think, respond, and act differently. They think differently about a problem. They see an opportunity where someone else is seeing an obstacle and a frustration. They respond differently to the situation. Yes, we've had to now do all kinds of new things in a new way during lockdowns and so forth. But game changers sit and think, how can I do this in a different way that is going to be more comfortable for me and maybe a solution for other people? And they act differently. They consider a new angle. Wait, let me go back to act differently as well. Act and react, and they're responding to things that we see online and fake news and so forth is so crucial. And you can immediately see when someone is taking that opportunity and driving it towards a positive change. And when it comes to considering new angles, I think, let me show you this mug. So from your side, it's blue, it's a mug, and that's it. And we used to drink from it. From my perspective, it makes me think of a superhero. It reminds me of a beautiful memory with my son a couple of years ago. And it really makes me feel like, whenever I have coffee out of this, it makes me feel special. Because you see, from my perspective, it looks different. And we can be looking at the same problem. We can be looking at the same situation. And sometimes it's worth walking around it and looking at different perspectives to find that one thing that sparks you to come up with something new so that one day we can speak about your invention and how you became a game changer. They also stop the comparison dilemma. You know what? The comparison, it's a dilemma for me because that's the one thing that especially young people are falling into. It's a big trap. And before I forget, let me remind you, your value is not determined by what is being said online, not the amount of likes or so-called online friends or anything that's being said online, because you are marvelously and wonderfully made. You were made for a purpose, and there's something that's in you that we all need to experience and explore. And I just always want you to remember, especially young and old, but especially young people, you are under so much pressure, and parents who are listening, we underestimate the pressure young people have because they no longer just have to form a physical identity. They have to have an online identity. And with that comes huge responsibility, number one, but secondly, pressure, peer pressure. So I want to remind you that your value is not determined by what is being said online on any Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. It's not about how many TikTok likes you get. You just need to remember that you are amazing and wonderful, and focus on the people who make you feel that way. And then game changers, dream bigger. Oh, let's start to dream again. I don't know about you, but some days it's a bit hard for me, especially where we are right now, because things are so uncertain. And it's difficult to plan. I quite like to plan ahead and know what to expect and deliver and so forth. And maybe you feel like me, it's quite hard to plan, but we can dream. We can dream big, and we should be bold because we have what it takes. So let me plant a couple of seeds. And if you've got something to write, and yeah, that's one of the seeds, but let's use it. Jade, give it to me. That's one of the inventions and game changer examples I want to show you. Think about the emojis. And I mean, I'm joined by my friend here, my cool friend. The emoji inventors or creators, I bet you they didn't think of the enormous impact this little round yellow face would have on the world. Think about it. We can hide behind emotional images or pictures. I can share what I feel like without having to type a word. If I'm lazy, I can just give a thumbs up. And sometimes I can actually be a little bit guarded, because if you ask me how I am and I just don't want to tell you my heart's actually very broken or I'm frustrated, I just send an emoji. But the other side of this is that the inventors of the emoji, the game changers, they change the way we communicate. They change the way we connect with each other, we relate with each other, and we share our emotions and how we connect with our emotional side. And I'm sure that you will agree with me that it's really connected people who speak different languages. We don't even need to be able to speak the same language, but I can understand what you say through emojis. So that's one example. Other seeds I want to plant for you to consider as a game changer and where you can play a role going into the future is to think of smart cities. Smart cities are so excited, and we don't have time to go deeper into the whole smart cities and IoT or the Internet of Things and connected devices. But I encourage you to go and read more, because you know what, before I forget to mention this, young people are being prepared for jobs that don't exist yet. And us who are working already, we are actually responsible for creating that future. But I am so excited to see what's going to happen, because like my son will be doing a job one day that we can't predict at the moment because of the way technology is developing and because of all the game changers. And it's very, very fascinating to go and look at the Internet of Things and how smart cities will change things from all different types of landscapes, not just technology, the way we're going to shop, the way we're going to drive, etc. And the next one is cyber safety. It connects directly to this IoT and the smart cities discussion. Now go back, please, Jane. Jade, thank you. Cyber safety and our personal information and the protection of that and the endless world of app developments and so forth is something that you can look into if you want to become a game changer in that space. It's a big, big opportunity in terms of not just career-wise, but also for you to look after your own cyber wellness and cyber happiness, which is my next point, is like, please can you just consider, and especially if you're still young, and I need to show you this quickly, my printed paper. Cyber wellness means we need to look at How does our digital lives impact our physical lives? And it's no longer the one or the other. Everything is intertwined and combined and mixed. If you think about the way you shop, you bank, entertainment, schooling, etc., it's so connected now that we can't distinguish between what's physical and digital. But our digital lives and habits impacts our, let me give you that, spiritually, it impacts us physically, emotionally, intellectually, environmentally, and then, of course, relationally. From an environmental point of view, have you ever considered all the satellites that is part of our night sky? And we won't go into pollution and all those things right now, but all of that forms part of your cyber wellness. And that's another seed I want to plant, because we need game changers to help us deal with this thing, because some of it is quite scary and some of it is very exciting, but I'm sure you've heard of digital addiction. You must have heard that online gaming can become addictive. Screen time management is such a huge problem at the moment, because even if we want to, we need screens to do most of the things that we need to do. So there's lots of opportunities there. And I want to give you one more example of a game changer for me. Think of 3D printing. 3D printing, in my view, didn't really impact the printing industry as much as it impacted the toy industry, because some people are just printing their own toys. Some people are just printing the things that they need around the house. I've got an amazing neighbor who gives us the most amazing things that he prints. And I think that is a game changer. And the ripple effect of that is huge. So what is it that you can build or think of on top of the 3D printer? And how can you create your own, online shop and print your own toys and sell that at school? So that's another example I wanted to share with you. So let's go to the next slide. And I want to share with you and just give us a little bit of comfort in terms of, in the midst of all this somewhat chaos and turbulence and really uncertainty, what is it that we really know? What is it that we can say, for sure, this is going to stay the same? The first thing is that things will change. Always, all the time. As you are listening to me, there are neurons in your brain that are fired up, and hopefully, and I'm really, really hoping that I'm activating them to form new pathways for you, new ways of thinking, and become curious about new things. And as we are sitting here around the world, governments are meeting and making decisions that will impact us. Global pandemics don't ask permission, and ice caps are melting. Someone is sitting somewhere right now typing a social media message that will have a ripple effect, and that will definitely change someone's view on something or change someone's life. And artificial intelligence is working in the background and manipulating us in a way in terms of our digital habits. So when we think of things that will change all the time, there's also the next one, and that is the way we do things will change. Now, I know some of you who are listening, you think and believe, or for you, Siri and Alexa are part of your family, and teachers have had to become TV presenters. We are doing this amazing webinar, international stage, on 11 July 2020, and so many new things have become a new way of doing something we did in the past. And that leads me to the next thing, and that is that what we do know is that someone will be there for you. And you know what's interesting? It might not be the person you expect. It might not necessarily be your family or friends. And not everyone will support you and be there for you. And it will be that person who was touched by your story and who feels moved by your next big thing or your idea or the way you want to change the world. That's the person who will be there for you. For me, it's Harvard University at the moment, because through their generosity and edX, I'm able to do courses on neuroscience, because I am so curious about how our brains work and how it impacts the way we do our digital lives and our digital habits, and how I can use that information in the work that I do to help people in terms of their digital wellness. So there are all these new people that might come onto the scene that will be there for you. Then we should also remember, and we know that you need to be there for someone else. And this one touches me, because I feel that in this time, especially because we've been in lockdown, sometimes you don't realize it, but you become a little bit self-occupied. And yes, we are busy. We are currently doing international, talks, and we are doing webinars and so forth. But are you really there for someone who needs you, for that someone who needs you to empower them? And that brings me to, we know we can each play our part, whether it is in your household, with the neighbors, in your community, on a stage somewhere, through technology, etc. But we know that we can each play our part. And how we do things and why we do things will definitely change. I'm sure you've also wondered, why should I sit in traffic? If this can be a new way of doing things, why should I travel? And I heard Al Gore said yesterday on the panel discussion that he's definitely not missing the red eye and the jet lag and traveling so much. So it will impact, we will ask why and how will we change things. And then failing forward. Wow, this one is so important, especially for young people. It's okay to fail. We need to try. We need to experience new things. And I'm thankful to my parents, and I think they're listening, but I'm thankful to them for teaching me that it's okay to try new things. You might not be the best in everything, but if you've tried, then at least you can move to the next thing. Now, my time is almost up, and I would like to get a moment to ask questions or to answer some questions. But Jade, can we go to the next slide, and then I'll wrap up, and then we can hopefully do a question or two. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jade. Love the communication happening here. So let's talk about, before I go, because Jade just told me I have a moment for a question. Is there maybe a question, Jade, or a comment from someone that you can share, or anything? Okay, not at the moment. Pardon me. So, how are you going to reboot the world? My throat. Oh, there is a question. Go ahead, Jade. How do you help someone open up after cyberbullying? That's quite a specific question. And in terms of this discussion, maybe I can ask you to contact me. I'll share more information with you. My contact details will be shared. But just because we are here and we've got the opportunity to open up after being cyberbullied is hard. It's very important for us to have good relationships with our children and each other before it happens. I really feel that parents need to spend more time getting to know their children and getting to know this real new world that they're living in. But cyberbullying has many ripple effects, and I just want to say that it is a serious thing and that we need to help whoever's being bullied. And there are many ways to do that. Number one, just quickly, you never respond to the bully. And number two, you need to make sure that you are protected. If you're feeling physically in danger, you need to go to the authorities and make sure that you're safe. And please reach out to me at Safety Net. The details will be on so that we can communicate further on that. So coming back and just managing this time, how do we How are you going to reboot the world? And what is it that you can do? So I want you to go and think for yourself about what is your game? What is your time waster? What is that thing that you love to spend time on, but think that it's wasting your time? And how can you change that into something that will change people's lives and your own? If you love social media, how can you use it differently to spread uplift or spread encouragement or uplift communities, etc.? And if you really consider the fact that you have this time now to say, what can become of this? And I love that question. It's from a book called The HQ, Hope Quotient by Ray Johnson. And he asked the question of, what can become of this? What can you do sitting in the traffic? What can you do sitting at home, learning from school, etc.? What can become of this? It changes your perception and makes you think and feel more positive about a problem. And then what is the impact you aim to make? Doesn't matter how big or small. It doesn't have to be in the limelight or on a big stage or where everyone sees it. A brain surgeon is doing his job behind closed doors right now, saving someone's life, and we don't know about it. That makes it incredible, even though it's not on public platforms. So I wanted to mention that because sometimes we get stuck into say, well, I'm not famous or people don't know about it. And then how will you be using your fingerprint? I need to wrap up now. And I just wanted to mention one last thing, and that is that I love how the co-author of Blue Ocean Strategy, another book that you can read by Renee Maubour, said in her interview with Marie Forleo that if you want to create your own blue ocean, and that is where you're actually going to go and find new solutions and change your game, then you can actually stimulate new ideas. So I don't know, Jade, I need to wrap up. Is there any possibility that you can show my last 2 slides, or are we done? We are done, but my contact details was on that, and maybe Jade, you can type it for people in the comments. But I had one slide, and it was a beautiful snail. You won't be able to see it, but it's a snail. And I wanted you to see that you can do it, no matter where you are and how you feel and what you experience at the moment. You can do it, and you have that game changer in you, that thing that we need. So travel safely in cyberspace, be responsible with your fingertip, and thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Good night.